Harrison Butker, the Super Bowl winning kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, is known for his powerful leg and clutch performances. Yet, recently, he sparked controversy far beyond the football field. Butker, a devout Catholic, used his platform to speak on traditional gender roles, igniting a firestorm of debate. His words highlight the tension between deeply held religious beliefs and the evolving norms of modern society. This controversy compels us to examine the intersection of faith, sports, and public life in the 21st century. At its heart, this debate transcends Butker himself. It forces us to confront fundamental questions about the nature of truth, the role of religion in the public square, and the responsibility of public figures to use their platforms wisely. Do athletes, particularly those as visible as Butker, have an obligation to be silent on their personal beliefs? Or do they, like any citizen, have the right to express their convictions, even at the risk of igniting controversy? Butker's comments have reignited a long-standing debate about the place of traditional values in an increasingly secular and progressive society. His words echo the teachings of his Catholic faith, which emphasizes the complementarity of men and women and their distinct roles within the family and society. This perspective, often rooted in interpretations of biblical texts, stands in contrast to the prevailing cultural winds that emphasize gender equality and fluidity. The secularization of Western culture has led to a decline in the influence of traditional religious institutions. This shift has paved the way for a redefinition of gender roles, moving away from what some perceive as rigid and outdated norms. Butker's stance, therefore, represents a countercultural current, a pushback against the perceived marginalization of traditional values. This clash of values is not confined to the realm of abstract ideas. It has tangible consequences for how we structure our families, educate our children, and shape our laws. The debate over same-sex marriage, transgender rights, and abortion all stem from these fundamental disagreements about the nature of gender and sexuality. Butker's comments, intentionally or not, have thrust him into the center of this cultural vortex. To understand the full weight of this controversy, we must examine Butker's words. Speaking at a Catholic men's conference, Butker emphasized the importance of men embracing their roles as husbands and fathers. He called on men to be leaders in their homes and communities, echoing traditional views on male headship. Furthermore, he suggested that women should prioritize marriage and motherhood, a statement that drew considerable criticism. Critics argue that Butker's words perpetuate harmful stereotypes that confine women to domestic roles and limit their opportunities for personal and professional fulfillment. They contend that his views are out of step with the realities of modern life, where women are increasingly pursuing higher education, entering the workforce in record numbers, and delaying marriage and motherhood. Butker's supporters, however, praise his courage in speaking out against what they see as the erosion of traditional values. They argue that his words are a much-needed corrective to a culture that has become too focused on individualism and self-gratification. They see his emphasis on family and faith as a refreshing counterpoint to the prevailing secular narrative. Essential to Butker's argument is the belief that gender roles are not merely social constructs, but part of a divine design. This view, rooted in a literal interpretation of Scripture, posits that God created men and women with distinct and complementary roles. Men, according to this perspective, are called to be leaders, providers, and protectors, while women are called to be nurturers, helpers, and mothers. This understanding of gender roles has profound implications for how we view marriage, family, and society as a whole. It suggests that men and women are not interchangeable, but rather designed by God to fulfill specific purposes. This belief underpins the traditional family structure where the husband is the head of the household and the wife submits to his leadership. However, this interpretation of Scripture is not without its critics. Progressive theologians and biblical scholars argue that these texts must be understood within their historical and cultural contexts. They contend that the Bible, while offering timeless truths, also reflects the patriarchal norms of the societies in which it was written. Section 5. Backlash and Support, Navigating the Divide. Butker's comments ignited a firestorm on social media, with many condemning his views as outdated and offensive. Critics accused him of sexism, misogyny, and insensitivity towards women who have fought for equality. Some called for boycotts of the Kansas City Chiefs and demanded an apology from Butker. Conversely, Butker received an outpouring of support from conservative circles. Many praised his willingness to stand up for his beliefs, particularly in the face of intense criticism. They saw his comments as a refreshing affirmation of traditional values in an increasingly secularized world. This divide highlights the polarization of American society, where even seemingly innocuous topics like football can become battlegrounds for cultural and political warfare. Butker's experience underscores the challenges of navigating public life in an age of social media, where every word is scrutinized and amplified. Section 6. The NFL's Tightrope Walk, Sports, Politics, and Religion. Butker's controversy placed the NFL in a precarious position. The league, long known for its apolitical stance, has increasingly found itself entangled in social and political issues. From Colin Kaepernick's kneeling protests to players speaking out against racial injustice, the NFL has struggled to balance its desire to remain neutral with its responsibility to address societal concerns. Butker's case presented a different challenge, forcing the NFL to navigate the intersection of religion, gender, and free speech. The league, wary of alienating fans on either side of the issue, opted not to discipline Butker, citing his right to free speech. This decision, while perhaps inevitable, underscores the complexities of the NFL's position. As one of the most popular and influential sports leagues in the world, the NFL wields considerable cultural power. Its actions, or in this case, inaction, send a message about its values and priorities. Section 7. Faith in the Public Square, a Balancing Act. Butker's willingness to speak openly about his faith raises broader questions about the role of religion in the public square. America, founded on the principle of religious freedom, has long grappled with the tension between respecting individual beliefs and maintaining a secular government. On the one hand, the First Amendment guarantees the free exercise of religion, protecting the right of individuals to live out their faith without government interference. On the other hand, the separation of church and state prohibits the government from endorsing or promoting any particular religion. Butker's case highlights the complexities of navigating this delicate balance. While he has the right to express his religious beliefs, his status as a public figure amplifies his words and gives them added weight. This raises questions about the extent to which public figures should use their platforms to promote their personal beliefs, particularly when those beliefs touch on sensitive social issues. Section 8. Public Figures, Private Beliefs, Where to Draw the Line. The Butker controversy compels us to confront a fundamental question. Where do we draw the line between public persona and private beliefs? In an age of social media, where every utterance can be amplified and scrutinized, this question has become increasingly difficult to answer. Some argue that public figures, by virtue of their platform and influence, have a responsibility to be mindful of their words and actions. They contend that public figures should refrain from expressing personal views that could be divisive or offensive, particularly when those views touch on sensitive social issues. Others counter that public figures, like any citizen, have the right to free speech and should not be expected to censor themselves simply because of their celebrity. They argue that attempting to silence or censure public figures based on their beliefs sets a dangerous precedent and undermines the principles of free expression. Section 9. Finding Common Ground. A path forward. The Butker controversy, while divisive, offers an opportunity for meaningful dialogue. Rather than retreating into our respective echo chambers, we should engage in respectful conversations about the intersection of faith, sports, and public life. This requires listening to opposing viewpoints, seeking common ground, and recognizing the shared humanity that binds us. Finding common ground does not necessitate abandoning our convictions. It does, however, require us to approach these conversations with humility, empathy, and a willingness to understand perspectives different from our own. It requires recognizing that even amidst disagreements, we can still treat one another with dignity and respect. In a world increasingly characterized by polarization and division, finding common ground is not merely a nicety, but a necessity. It is through respectful dialogue and engagement that we can bridge divides, foster understanding, and build a more just and compassionate society. The Butker controversy, while challenging, can serve as a catalyst for these essential conversations. For more daily Christian news and commentary, use the link in our bio to subscribe to our newsletter.